Myth number 1 is a tale of two extremes.
All right, dude, time to fire up that dial-up modem. We're going back to the internets for this story.
Oh, well, if it's from the internets, it must be true.
You don't have to be sarcastic. This one's about thermite, and I think you'll like it.
What is it?
All right, these two guys, they take a bucket of thermite, they put it on a bunch of blocks of ice, and they light it with a fuse, and it doesn't just burn like we've seen thermite burn. The whole friggin' thing explodes. Watch this clip, man. I think it's actually pretty credible.
Thermite itself shouldn't explode, though it burns at ferociously high temperatures. And you'd figure that ice would just melt, right? But this clip seems to show that when ice meets fire, the least of your worries is getting your socks wet.
Well, they sure made our job easier. They showed us everything we need to set this up.
Absolutely. 11 pounds of thermite, 10 one-pound blocks of ice.
And a fuse and a pack of matches to set the whole thing off.
I love it. Let's head out to the bomb range and try it out.
Okay.
Now, these two know they're thermite. Who could forget the racing stripe they burned through the roof of a car for the better to end with a bang myth? But now, before trying to replicate the ice explosion, Jamie wants to warm up with a trial by fire.
Now I'd like to fine-tune what you might call the thermite delivery system, but we can also have some fun here. So what we're building first is a kind of pagoda from bricks and steel plates. The idea is to see how many plates the thermite burns through once it's ignited.
Thermite's a mix of fine metallic powders, but the ideal ratio is debatable. Of course, we want the best burn for our buck, so this penetration test should be a great way to try out Jamie's special blend. From here, it's all quite simple. Jamie sets 2 matchbooks in the bucket, hooked up to a fuse.
Okay, this is thermite penetration test. In 3, 2, 1.
If all goes well, we'll see a cascade of fire burning through a bunch of steel plates. And the thermal imaging camera should enhance the experience.
I've always wanted to see this thing in action just like this.
As far as I know, it's never been done before. I mean, you see what happens after the fact, but we're going to see the whole thing all at once.
So this little pre-myth appetizer could go anywhere.
There we go.
1, 2, 3.
Nice!
Oh. 4 plates.
Right, the top 1 and 3 down. That was pretty cool.
It was.
Cool isn't the word. At 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, the burn is too bright to view at close quarters. It's a major meltdown.
We could hang these up in a gallery and we'll make it like $1 million.
So Jamie's special thermite blend is hot to try. Now, to see if 11 pounds of it is enough to actually explode 10 blocks of solid water.
Well, look, let's clean this up, get some ice blocks out here, and replicate that video.
That's what we're here for.
The Mythbusters are playing with fire.
There we go.
1, 2, 3.
Nice!
They're set to test a dubious and dangerous internet video that seems to show exploding ice.
The clip shows what is purportedly 11 pounds of thermite in a metal bucket sitting on top of 10 blocks of ice. They light the thermite, it does what we expect thermite to do, but then all of a sudden, poof, out it goes in a big explosion, flinging bits of metal everywhere. Now we're going to do exactly what they did and see if we get the same result.
It's hard to believe that mixing fire and ice could ever end in a boom. Retired FBI man Frank Doyle thinks that concealed gunpowder might be the cause of the conflagration.
Well, I'm a little skeptical, and I think they've done something a little iffy.
All right, well, there's only one way to find out.
Frank sets the fuse. Adam sets the scene.
Let's get behind the barrier and replicate a couple of internet pyromaniacs.
And Jamie lights the wick.
This is thermite and ice in 3, 2, 1. We're good.
Needless to say, never try this yourself. We've got all the safety gear, the expertise, and the blast screen.
It's killing me. Don't tell me. What the heck?
This is close to a worst-case scenario, when the explosion you're expecting to happen doesn't.
I think it's a dud.
So Jamie slips into something less comfortable, but way more fireproof. He and Frank fashion a new fuse. Then Jamie takes a furtive walk, knowing the old fuse could catch at any time.
So Jamie's put on the full fire suit to protect himself to replace another fuse and matches because, well, we don't know. He could touch that bucket and it could all go off. So it's a little bit touch and go right now.
Jamie wastes no time setting the new spark.
He's lit it.
Let's hope it stays lit. This experiment should confirm or bust the myth of exploding ice.
That looks like the match is going off. There it goes.
I'd say that was an explosion.
I'm pretty sure that qualified.
And Adams found the source of that thunk that shook the blast screen.
In the popular parlance, we call this piece of ice a hunter-killer because it went all the way from ground zero to our blast chamber. Luckily, it is ice-proof.
Some chunks of ice flew as far as 150 feet. The brick pallet is a smoldering ruin. And there's no trace at all of the galvanized steel bucket.
Look at that. That tells the whole story right there.
I am a believer.
But what actually made the ice go boom? The truth is, no one really knows.
Experts I've talked to are speculating that heat from the burning thermite is decomposing the water into hydrogen and oxygen, which in the presence of a source of ignition, namely hot thermite, is exploding. Now, I sort of have a problem with that because that requires that a whole bunch of hydrogen and oxygen be instantaneously created, and I don't know that that's possible. There is another explanation, I'm just speculating, and that is that something in this reaction is aerosolizing all the thermite. It's, the steam or something is throwing all this powder up into a cloud of thermite, and that's exploding. We don't know. It's a mystery. But one way or another, that was a heck of a bang.
Here's their video, and here's ours. So it's myth confirmed. No black powder, no hidden fireworks, just fire and ice.